So, when you think about how modern Hinduism came to be, there's a good chance you know the standard story. It's a pretty tidy narrative about colonialism, new ideas from the West, and a few key reformers. But what if that story is missing a huge piece of the puzzle? That's what we're going to dig into today. A completely different path to modernity, one that really challenges everything we thought we knew.
Okay, so the textbook version usually goes something like this. In the 19th century, right, you have these influential Hindu thinkers in big colonial cities like Calcutta. And they're encountering Western education, missionaries, all these European ideas for the first time. So guys like Ram Mohan Roy take these ideas and use them to reform what was seen as a pretty static Hindu tradition. It's a clean, simple story. Modernity comes from the West, and India changes because of it.
But a story that clean, well, it just begs the question, doesn't it? Is that really the whole picture? What if modernity wasn't something that just arrived on a boat from Europe? What if it could also grow from local soil, from deep within Hindu traditions themselves?
And that question leads us to a tale of two very, very different modernities. And it's a tale that shows us exactly why that standard story we all learned is, well, kind of flawed. You see, the problem with that standard narrative is that it gives us what you might call a colonist's eye view. It's a perspective that assumes all the action, all the new ideas, all the energy is coming from the West, while India is just kind of passively receiving it all. This view totally misses the incredible changes that were happening way outside those colonial centers, driven by local problems and homegrown solutions.
And this table just lays out the contrast so perfectly. On one side, you've got the famous Reform Hinduism. It's happening in big cities like Calcutta, the leaders are speaking English, and they're engaging directly with Western ideas. But on the other side, you have something totally different bubbling up in rural South India. This path was led by people like Ramalinga Swami, who spoke Tamil and drew his inspiration not from the West, but from his own Hindu traditions.
And it's this guy, Ramalinga Swami, who's going to be our guide to this alternative story of modernity. He's the saint who was innovating from the absolute margins of society.
So this is him, Ramalinga Swami. He was a Tamil poet and a leader in the Shaiva tradition. That's one of the major branches of Hinduism, focused on the god Shiva. Now, here's the absolute key thing to understand about him. He lived from 1823 to 1874, and he had no English education and no real contact with Westerners. His whole world, his whole framework for change was shaped entirely by local Tamil culture.
And this map just shows you exactly why his position was so unique. He operated out of a town called Vadalar, and Vadalar was on the edge of everything. It was far from the colonial port city of Cuddalore, but it was also far from the old, powerful centers of traditional Shaiva religion like Chidambaram. Being in this kind of no-man's land, well, it gave him the freedom to think differently, to innovate.
So how exactly did he innovate? This is where it gets really fascinating. Ramalinga didn't throw his tradition away to become modern. Instead, he took it and creatively remixed it to solve the really urgent problems he saw all around him.
I mean, just look at what he did. He launched a whole series of radical projects. He straight up attacked the caste system, arguing for one universal human family. He created brand new rituals that were all about feeding the hungry, no matter who they were. He founded a new kind of religious society, a voluntary one, that people actually chose to join. And get this, he even promised his followers that they could achieve yogic powers and physical immortality. This was not quiet traditionalism. This was active, world-changing stuff. And for him, this wasn't just some abstract theological game. It was deeply, deeply personal. This quote here really shows you that his work was driven by this profound empathy for the suffering he saw every single day. That compassion, that was the real engine of his modernizing project.
And here's maybe the most crucial point of all. His innovations weren't a response to some Western book or idea. They were a direct response to local crises. In 1867, right after a horrible famine ripped through South India, he founded his famous almshouse. His version of modernity was a practical, compassionate answer to the immediate suffering of his own community.
So all of this, it forces us to step back and ask a much bigger question. What do we actually mean when we use the word modern? Because maybe, just maybe, our definition has been way too narrow.
What if we redefine modernity, not as becoming more Western, but as this? It's an awareness of the challenges of right now, combined with the drive to innovate and build a better future. By that definition, Ramalinga fits perfectly. He saw the problems, caste, poverty, hunger, and he used the tools from his own tradition to build something radically new.
So the story of Ramalinga reveals that there isn't just one single path to being modern, a highway that started in Europe and spread out. Instead, we should be thinking in terms of multiple modernities. They can have different roots, different sources, different styles, all growing out of local cultures to meet local needs. Ramalinga's path was every bit as modern as the one in Calcutta. It was just a completely different kind of modern.
And that leaves us with this one last, really provocative thought to chew on. If we've been telling the story of modernity with such a narrow, Eurocentric lens, what else have we missed? How many other amazing stories of innovation and change from all around the world have we just completely overlooked, simply because we were only looking for a reflection of ourselves?